Despite growing expectations that interest rates will continue to fall, a majority worry that inflation will rise due to global economic headwinds.
Well, the good news is it looks like 2025 could be the year of green shoots.
A new report from Kiwi Bank shows almost every single region in the country is recovering.
What do you do to make yourself happy?
We come to New Zealand.
So I think those interpersonal skills are really, really key here.
How well the candidate should be preparing their resume.
So have those really stand out on your CV.
Okay. How they should be negotiating their salary.
If you say you're negotiable, then how negotiable are you?
What is the biggest mistake that you made and what did you learn from that?
If you're working with a recruiter around that, I think what's really important is to...
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of nlsa podcast. Today I'm thrilled to bring Lisa Cooley to our podcast. She got 2 decades of experience in recruiting in New Zealand industry as well as a decade of experience in specialized in IT recruiting in New Zealand. She is a managing director and founder of Brightspark recruitment in New Zealand. Beyond recruitment, Lisa also mentors professionals. She's also an advocate for women in tech in New Zealand. In today's conversation, we'll talk about her entrepreneurial journey, her leadership style, and New Zealand recruitment industry, specifically in IT job market. Get ready for practical advice, cracking ATS-friendly CVs, and standing out in the competitive world of recruitment. Let's welcome the expert, Lisa Cooley. What made you think to start Brightspark?
And I think it wasn't just a sudden thing. It was like, it took a long time to talk about and get together what we really wanted to do.
Yeah.
But you're right, it was about making changes. The business I'd been at, it was great. I'd been there a long time, but I felt in a way I'd lost sight of what recruitment was about, which is about people, helping people, whether that's your job seekers or your clients, changing lives by getting, great people for great businesses. And it just felt very much about making money for the board and not a lot else. If you wanted to make changes, you had to go through all these sort of levels of leadership. It's like, can't we just do this? Like, this is good for the people we're working with. So I really wanted to, strip recruitment back to being, just about people and helping people. Didn't want to reinvent the wheel, just wanted to do it better. And that's kind of where Brightspark was born from. And building a team of people that were really passionate about people, about tech, about recruitment, and just doing things well. And I think our ethos was, if we treat people well, if we treat people as they deserve to be treated, business success would naturally follow from there.
True.
You've got to make a profit, but at the end of the day, you go about it by doing all the right things.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of snowballed from there. And after a year or so of conversations and planning, that's when we launched the business.
How is New Zealand job market currently looking like?
It's been a really tough couple of years. I think different sectors have kind of felt the pain at different points over the last couple of years. I mean, I only really can deeply talk in the tech sector and digital. I think we've felt that pain for at least 18 months now.
Okay.
There was a huge, everything just went really crazy after those first couple of lockdowns, and it was just this really overinflated job market. You couldn't get people into the country. There was more jobs than people, and companies, I think, really sort of overhired during that period, and they were throwing a lot of money at people to get them on board, and other companies are throwing a lot of money at people to get them to stay, and it just kind of created this false job market. And it was always going to, I think, burst and correct. And I think, suddenly we've got high interest rates and high inflation and people getting made redundant. People don't have much money to spend, businesses aren't making it. And that's, that roll-on effect was a lot of redundancies and a lot of correction in that job market. So it's been really tough. But I do think it's slowly coming right.
Okay.
It's certainly not a sort of, this is the job market like this. It's a bit of a sort of, you take one step forward, 2 steps back. But it is that, the phrase I hear quite often from businesses is quietly optimistic. So I think companies, everyone I talk to wants to hire this year.
Okay.
They're very keen to grow their teams again, but they're going to be a lot more cautious about it this time round.
Getting right.
So we've seen an increase in certain sorts of jobs. We've seen a decrease in the amount of redundancies. So yeah, look, it's not great yet, but I think we're heading in the right direction with interest rates coming down, with inflation coming down.
What kind of skill set are currently it's like outdated?
Yeah.
And what kind of new skill set has been trying, like from your portfolio itself? What are the major part of new skill set that you're seeing and trying to get?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, as again, I mainly talk from the tech sector and the digital sector.
Yeah.
There's a few different ways to break that down. So from a kind of skill sets in demand roles wise, a lot of companies are looking in the data space. That's been huge. Even in the last couple of years, that's still been one of the few growth areas.
Okay.
I think businesses are really becoming even more aware of how the importance of data and decision making. So those teams are probably one of the few that have actually seen growth.
Yeah.
Cybersecurity has been a huge growth area since COVID, obviously, since everyone had to start working remotely and all the problems. You go back all the stories about companies that had major issues then. Cloud is a huge area. Cloud engineers, companies moving to the cloud. And AI. I mean, we're starting to see AI roles more. I think there's a lot of talk about it more than actual roles still, but it's growing. So those are all sort of areas, and software developers are always in demand. In terms of sort of soft skill trends, people are looking for people that really can do quite broad roles here in New Zealand.
Like a T-shaped structure.
Yeah, they don't want someone that just you do this little bit of my job. Collaboration's huge.
Yeah.
People that really want to. I think collaboration, because we live in a small country, is absolutely. It's one of the most important things. We're seeing trends around people going back to the office more. So a lot of companies are looking at, I guess by far the most common is 3 days a week in office now.
It's become
new
norm.
Yeah, exactly. Back to what was the old norm, then the new. I mean, back before COVID, hardly anyone worked remotely, right? It was like that. It was kind of seen as a real benefit. Yeah. Now it's, but there was a lot of remote working. Now we're seeing at least 3 days. 2 would probably be the next most common, but it's quite rare for us to see roles where it's completely remote, unless those businesses were fully remote pre-COVID.
Yeah.
So yes, we're seeing really trends towards that. But then flexibility is still a big thing. So you might have to be in the office those days, but there's flexibility a lot around the hours, and people understand that people have lives and families and other things they need to do. So although there may be less flexibility for what days and how many days, there's still some good flexibility. And people and companies are really getting to understand the importance as well of, additional benefits outside of just, people's salaries. So wellness benefits have become really common, and things like you might pay for people's gym memberships or health cover and things.
The people who want to apply in New Zealand jobs, what kind of skill set? They already have technical skill set, right? It's no, like it have to be there.
Yeah.
So what kind of additional skill set they should be having to successfully, land in a job in New Zealand specifically?
Yeah. So I think those interpersonal skills are really, really key here, because like I said, as small teams and people do tend to, and smaller businesses, you do tend to deal with people across all levels of a business and across all teams, which doesn't necessarily happen when you've got sort of 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people teams overseas. So really, I guess it's working on those soft skills around networking, communication, really strong business communication skills, just that confidence to be part of the wider team. Back in the day, people could code and they could just sit in the corner and code. That just doesn't really happen anymore. Everyone's, there's especially with people bringing in sort of agile ways of working, and people just they can't just sit and do their own thing. And I think that's what's great here, right?
Yeah.
So really, I think a really good way to build that confidence is to get out there and network, go to meetups, just build that confidence in that side of things.
Okay.
Those soft skills.
Yeah.
I think you can teach the technical, but you've got to grow your own soft skills, right? Building on that confidence is definitely a big thing.
Cool. Can you, if you want to name 3 main skills, how can you name it?
Oof. That's hard.
Just 3.
Just 3. Okay. So I think, those, I think that interpersonal side is absolutely critical.
Yep.
Communication. More than 3 now.
Yeah.
They like people with sort of critical thinking skills.
Collaboration.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people want people that can think a bit outside the box here as well. It's a very, we're quite an entrepreneurial country, so people that have you can actually bring ideas to businesses here. People want, people say, okay, what about if we do it like this? And you can't always do that in much larger. So
Great.
so I think that confidence to bring ideas to the table.
Yeah.
Then obviously every business is different in terms of what they want.
What are some few non-negotiable factors that you look into when you hire on your team or outside for a company?
Yeah. So for my team, it's that passion for helping people. And the very high standards around how you treat people. And that's what our whole sort of company has been built on. And, you know, communication, getting back to people, being able to really understand what they're looking for and find the right role for them. So that's really that non-negotiable, is that passion for helping other human beings. Outside of that, for other companies, it really is, you know, a lot of that comes down to what the company tells me they're looking for. But we don't work with businesses that don't have similar values to us. So if a business doesn't look after their people, or we feel that they don't have a good culture, you know, if we hear it's toxic, or, you know, we have that experience ourselves dealing with them, then we'll happily walk away from that business. I can't sleep at night knowing I've put someone into a toxic team or a toxic company. Obviously we've got to do research, make your own mind. You can't just go on other people's hearsay, but been around long enough to know. And obviously when we're having those interactions and those dealings with those companies, you'll get to feel for how they treat you and your time as well. So that's, I guess that's the type of businesses we work with. But other than that, we'll get a good brief on what that company wants and what's a fit for them, and we have to go out and find that. But usually if we're working with companies that got similar values to us, then they look for the similar sort of people, I guess, that we do.
That's good. I can see a leader in you. I want to ask you. I can ask you. I can see a leader, definitely. I want to know what is your leadership style, and what does leadership mean for you? Like whenever you see yourself as leader, what is it really meant for you? And what are your styles and values to it?
I very much try and lead by example. So I don't expect my team to do anything that I wouldn't do myself. It's a very open style of leadership. We all sit in the office together. Obviously, we go back to that sort of collaboration. So the team know they can ask me anything, anytime. I'm very much a big believer in you bring, your true self to work. We don't have to hide anything. We all know about each other, and if there's problems, people will happily talk about it. So it's creating an environment where you can be 100% yourself and open and honest, and I'm exactly the same. And so I just they know they can come to me anytime, but I'm also equally willing to learn off of them. So again, I say bring your ideas, and you let people make their own mistakes. Or at least happy to try something. So just really open, I think, and it's a real blessing to be able to lead people, and I think it's a huge, it's so easily, you can do it wrong and you can affect people's lives positively and negatively. So I think it's really important to understand how to make sure it's a positive experience. There's days when I probably don't want to talk to people because I've had a bad, day, or something's happened, but it's really important to me to understand that these people look to me, and I've got to put that to one side and just sort of, and you can't take those issues out. And you, as a leader as well, one of the hardest things sometimes is you have your own issues, but you take on a lot of other people's, and so it's being very conscious that you have to give yourself some time out and not burn out, because you do feel everyone's pains and everyone's issues, and if you're not careful, that can just build up. So there's a lot of different sort of, I guess, parts to that. But like I say, we're very open, and we're very open about if there's any issues or problems. And luckily everyone in my team is genuinely great friends that spend a lot of time with each other outside of work as well, and that really helps. But sometimes you've got to go, okay, let's draw the line between business and friends, and not let certain, too much creep in on each side with work. But I think it's just I'm just myself. And as I say, I just lead by doing what I do. And definitely don't sort of micromanage or tell anyone what to do. I'll guide. And if they ask me, I'll tell them. But generally, we kind of all just learn off each other.
All right. When as you mentioned, you tend to burn out or stress out after taking quite a lot of workload. In that scenarios, as a leader, what is your technique or method that you use to relax yourself?
Oh gosh, I think I like to I try and find time to work out. I think like doing that's great for your mental and physical health, obviously, and just a bit of a stress relief.
Yeah.
I do a lot of like getting out in nature and walking is really important. I think clearing your head is really important. But more than anything, just if you know you need to take time out, just take time out.
Yeah.
You know, I'm big on making the team take annual leave, take holidays. If I feel that they haven't, like I start to see the same as I see in myself, that this person needs a break. You start going around in circles doing the same things wrong. And, you know, it's just, so it's really making sure everyone's different in how they relieve their stress. But I think taking time away from the office, and I'll often say to the guys, you know, just take the day, just go home. You know, if it's too much, I'm like, I haven't got any wellness leave or I don't have any annual leave. So I don't care, just go.
Yeah.
You know, it's your health and wellness is more important, you know, than how much leave and how, you know, don't worry, you're getting paid, just go. And so, it's just being very aware of when you need that time away. And look, we're all, again, because of that collaboration, that work will get looked after.
Yeah.
And because we're all, you know, we all help each other so much, someone can take some time out and everyone else can pick up their work. It's not going to go, you know, nothing's going to go wrong or not going to happen because we do make sure everyone's across everyone's, you know, what's happening. So, that's good.
How well the candidate should be preparing their resumes before submitting an application.
Yeah. The average recruiter or hiring manager will generally spend 6 to 7 seconds reviewing a CV before they decide whether to read on. And if you've got 400, 500 CVs, it's really hard to do anything but that. In an ideal world, you'd read them all end to end. Like, so yes, you want to make sure that the keywords on the job description they're looking for are on your CV. The formatting looks good. You know, you don't have a million different fonts. It's, you know, that's the first thing we're looking at. The key info wants to be like really stand out. So your jobs, you want to have the most recent, then going back and, like skills matrix is really important, things like that. So you can see. And one key tip I always say when I'm talking about CVs, usually when you read a job description or a job advert, people naturally put the most important details at the top. So when it's got the requirements of the role or the requirements of you, usually the most important ones will be first. Because you naturally, when you're thinking, you'll think of the most important ones first when you're writing them down. So have those really stand out on your CV.
Okay.
You know, that's just naturally, you know, human nature is to do that. So if you say someone who wants .NET or this or that, and that's at the top, make sure that's really clear on your CV.
I just want to know, like, as candidates, how they should be building their LinkedIn portfolio and how they should be building their digital presence out there. And what are some key takeaways that they should be focusing on LinkedIn that help them to get a job? Or apply for a job.
So the really important thing is to have a profile to start with. I've definitely had people whose LinkedIn profiles are either not up to date or non-existent that haven't got jobs because of that, because people like to look and see. I think making sure, so it's up to date. It's obviously you have a professional photo, ideally a good professional banner as well. You can have like a good little snippet at the start about you and just like it's like your elevator pitch, I guess. And then making sure that the previous work experience is up to date and also accurate. So I've had a lot of issues in the past where someone's CV hasn't matched their LinkedIn profile. So someone has changed their CV, job titles to kind of try and match the job they're applying for. And then the hiring managers looked at the LinkedIn and gone, but that's not the same, or the dates aren't the same. And it's like, so be aware people are going to cross-reference and they're going to have a look.
You should not fake it till make it.
No, honesty is always the best policy when job seeking, or in general. So I think that's important. But really use it as it's such a great platform for connections, like you say, in networking. So I think if you're job hunting specifically, I think building that presence. So, you know, comment like, you know, good posts, right? So you, the meaningful people, okay, that person knows what they're talking about. They're really into, you know, their area of tech or whatever it is you do. But also connecting with the right people. So you can comment on, you know, you might have a target company you want to work for. You might be connected or you'll follow their company page, you know, like comment on that and, you know, oh, that's awesome. So I think as you use it the same as you would as real life networking. I think it's important not to spam people though. So, if you're going for a job, you don't want to connect with every single person in that company. I really want a job in your company. There's got to be that professional line.
I just remembered something. So, all right, that's true. That's true. It even when you reach out to someone, it's better not to send a big lengthy message. Make sure you have enough short and precise information what you want to ask for.
Yeah, definitely. And just as well, you can use it for for research purposes. So if you're going to get an interview for a role, you can obviously research the people you're going to be interviewing with. So because when you go for the interview, I've seen you've worked here 15 years. That's awesome. What's kept you here so long? Or see, you've only just started. What have you enjoyed about it? So that it's just a really powerful tool for lots of reasons. But I think building a credible online presence definitely helps.
Let's say someone got a job now, right? How they should be negotiating their salary? Some tricks.
One. There's a few things. So I think the key is to know your worth. So is to do your research. There's nothing. One of the biggest things I say to people is don't just say market rate or I'm negotiable, because you really should know what the market rate is. And if you say you're negotiable, then how negotiable are you? Are they going to negotiate you down to minimum wage? Right? It's just, so I think that's where there's a lot of salary surveys. There's a lot of information online that you can get around roles. Like a lot of recruiters put them out. If they don't, you can talk to a recruiter you trust. Like I've talked to a lot of people that even are applying for jobs that are not through me, or they might be direct. They say, what do you think this job's worth? And I'm always happy to help. So there's so many ways you can find out. And then from there you go, okay, cool. Well, if they're paying from 100 to 120 and they want 5 to 7 years experience and I've got 5, I'm probably going to be somewhere there. Or if you've been working, you probably got a pretty good idea what you're on now and what you need for your next role. So it really, again, depends on where you're at in your career. If you're just starting out or just come to New Zealand, or, it's going to be a lot harder to know what necessarily, your salary, what you should ask for than someone who's just going from one job up to slightly more senior role. But yeah, there's so much, just do that research. I think the hard part is when to discuss it. I think when you work with a recruiter, it's great because we'll be very open about what the salary is to start with or what the range is. If you're working with a recruiter around that, I think what's really important is to get that sorted quite quickly, because there's nothing worse for us if we put someone over to a role at, say, 150K and they go right through the process and then turn around and say, well, now I want 180. And it's like, everyone just looks, and look, things might have changed. They might have gone for interviews and found out the role's actually a lot more senior, but there's going to be times before that point we should get to that conversation. But I think if you're going direct, it's like, okay, when do I have that conversation? When do we? It can be hard. A lot of the time in an interview, they'll just say, look, what are you looking for? And there's ways you can phrase it. Look, I've done my research into these roles and I feel it sits somewhere between here and here. I definitely want something in that region, depending on what the additional benefits are, depending, how do you feel? Like, where does that sit with what you're offering? Some other companies just be really upfront what it is. So yeah, it's a really, salary negotiation is tough. And people don't like it, which is why another good benefit of working with recruiters, because we can do it.
You guys do
we do it for you. But it's not always, that's not it. But as I say, do your research. And I think being confident in why you're worth that. So if you're giving them a figure, it's like, okay, this is what I bring to the table. This is all the boxes I feel I tick in your requirement. Therefore, I feel like I am worth this. And always go and when you if there is a range, or there's a range you're willing to accept, just bear in mind you're better off starting at the higher level of that, because it's very hard to negotiate up, but most people try and negotiate down.
Okay.
So
that's good to know. Like,
so if you say I'm willing to take,
you place yourself in a upper space.
So if you're willing to take, say, but 110 is your minimum, but as much, you could say, look, I'm looking between, if you say I'm looking between 110 and 130, chances are that company's going to offer you 110 because that you've just told them you're going to take that, right? Whereas, not all, but a lot. Whereas if you say I'm ideally looking around 130 because of blah, 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 they might come back and go, actually, well, how's 120? You've still got 10K more than you were willing in the first place. But it's got to be within the realms of obviously reasonable for that.
Do the
research, exactly, and what your skills are worth. Cool.
So for people who are trying to look jobs in New Zealand, what they should be doing instead of like making sure they're not getting scammed?
I think number one, you should never be paying a recruiter to find you a job.
In New Zealand?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
And anyone that is doing that absolutely shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
Because there was an agency like years ago that was doing that, and that didn't last very long before they got, the whole industry was like, oh no. When we find people roles, we charge the business to find them the talent, not the talent to find them a job. I do worry sometimes as well about, sometimes people will say, I've paid somebody X amount of, dollars overseas to find me a role. Like, you can find a role like this. You can still, it's not, obviously good licensed immigration advisors, they're going to cost money.
Yeah.
But really, like, you shouldn't be getting anyone promising you a job for a cost, because no one can promise anyone a job. It's just not how it works. So I think, yes, a good licensed immigration advisor that can help you, guide you, but they can't promise they're going to get you work.
Okay, we are closing into our final round. This is going to be a rapid round.
Woo.
You can have a one word or one sentence.
Okay.
And we'll do just 5 questions. All right. What is the best career advice you ever got?
Be yourself.
Be yourself.
Yeah. Be yourself. Don't tell people, I know it's quick fire, don't tell people what you think they want to hear. People buy from you and want to do business with you and work with you because of the authentic you.
What is your favorite book?
I think my favorite book around business would be Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, around an ex-FBI negotiator. And it's a great sales book.
Okay.
Awesome. But I will shameless plug Igor Portugal's new book as well.
Yep.
Yeah, I've just started reading that, Unasked Question.
I'm about to meet Max, actually.
Yeah, so I've just started it, but I think that's going to be a must read as well.
So he was in our podcast.
Yeah, Igor's amazing. He's an NZ tech legend.
Yes, I agree. What is one job skill everyone should master?
Networking. Yeah, especially in New Zealand.
What is the biggest mistake that you made, and what did you learn from that?
I grew my business too quickly off the back of the boom after the initial lockdowns, and I think a lot of people did that. So when I was talking about how there was a lot of redundancies and things, I had to restructure my business.
Yeah.
And I think thinking that these boom times, probably didn't think far enough ahead, and it was awful having to do that, and I never want to have to do that again. But yeah, so growing too quickly.
Yeah. Let's say our audience want to get in touch with you and explore the opportunities and how they can reach out to you.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah, so you can find me on LinkedIn. So it's
we'll put a link here.
Yeah, put the link on. Yeah, and also on the Brightspark webpage is all my contact details. So LinkedIn, it's got my phone number, got my email. Just get in touch. It's probably better to get hold of me via email rather than LinkedIn, because I sometimes get an obviously connect requests, definitely.
Yeah.
But my LinkedIn inbox sometimes gets so inundated, and I hate not getting back to people quickly. Yeah. Whereas emails, obviously, I'm on there all day, every day, so I see it straight away. Cool. But definitely connect request, and then we can go from there. Love to meet new people and connect with new people.
That's good. As for your closing, anything that you want to mention?
No, thank you. I've really enjoyed chatting. I love it. It's great. My second ever podcast.
That's good. It's really amazing that you got all this knowledge about New Zealand job market, and that's really helpful for the audience as well. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very
Cheers.
much. Cheers. If you truly enjoyed this episode, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to nlsa podcast, and turn on the notification bell so that you will never miss an update. We have many more guests lined up who are ready to share their journeys and insights with you. If you have any questions or topic you would like us to cover in future episodes, drop them in the comments below or send us a message. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Anuvindh signing off. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, keep pushing the boundaries.